Letting go of stuff. It's undoubtedly one of the biggest psychological challenges for budding minimalists. Today, I'm going to share with you the process by which I plan on tackling this fear of letting go of stuff. Welcome to Get It Together, and if you're new here, this channel is just me trying to figure out how to get my life together and sharing the tips and lessons I learned along the way. In the last video, which I'm going to link right up here, I shared the ultimate decluttering hack for all the small little things that just kind of pile up around our homes. Essentially, being able to go from this to this. But in that video, at the end, I explained that there was no real minimizing happening. It was really just home organization. And as I actually moved forward and started thinking about getting rid of stuff, feelings of, for lack of a better word, anxiety started building up. For the rest of this video, I'm going to look that anxiety in its face and tackle the problem of letting go of stuff head on. So let's dive into section 1, which are the 5 reasons that I could think of as to why I feel such a strong need to hang on to almost everything. Reason number 1 is that we think it's cool. We like it. Take this right here, for example. This is a Kid Robot vinyl toy that's commemorating that episode from The Simpsons with the whole Mr. Sparkle. It serves absolutely zero purpose in my life. But the initial buying decision for that was for one reason and one reason only. I liked it. That's it. If I'm going to be really honest, which is embarrassing to admit, but the motivating factor, the thing that tipped me over the edge into actually buying it, was wanting to post it on Facebook and thinking that it would get a lot of likes from my friends. Yeah, it's embarrassing to admit, but it's the truth. The second reason why we want to hang on to stuff is that we know or we feel that it'll be useful, but once in a while. This could be like one specific piece of clothing, or as a random example, like this right here. This is like one of those light up sign boxes. And I just picked this up when my sister was getting married, and it was just to kind of set up at the entryway of their wedding ceremony. I have never once used this since her wedding day years ago. Other things that might be useful once in a while are things like tools, right? This tape measure. I don't measure things at home every single day, but this is an example of something that I use once in a while, but I actually feel is worth keeping around. I mean, I think every household should have a baseline number of tools that are available at a moment's notice. But I digress. We're going to touch on that in section 2 as well. But for now, let's move on to the third reason as to why people hang on to things. The third reason are for sentimental values or souvenirs. And so in that decluttering video, you may have noticed that I have this one box that I've labeled Dad Memories. And these are quite sentimental to me because these are the things that basically belong to my father and that I decided to keep after he passed away. The fourth reason why we may feel compelled to hang on to things is that we perceive them as an investment. We might have bought something because we think it'll increase in value, and maybe it actually has, and we're just holding on to it and waiting for the perfect opportunity to sell. And the fifth reason why we might find it difficult to let something go actually applies to quite a lot of things I own, and it's simply this reason. It'd be a waste to just throw it away. So as an example, I have this amenity kit pouch. It's like this faux leather thing that's this zipper pouch, but then it has this other, whatever, you get the point. And I don't use this, I have no need for it, but it also feels like a total waste to just dump it inside the garbage can. And so items like this, at least for me, tend to just accumulate in random drawers and cupboards, even though I have no intention of ever using them. Now, before moving on to section 2 of this video, these are just the 5 reasons that I could think of after a thought exercise. If there are any other compelling reasons for you why you find it difficult to let something go, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Let's move on to section 2, addressing each of these reasons and my plan on being able to actually allow myself to let these things go without feeling anxiety or anything like that. Now, one of the main fixes for this anxiety and the fear of letting go, I learned from the Tim Ferriss podcast. And unfortunately right now I forgot the exact episode, but when I do remember, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to link it in the description below. But in that podcast episode, he shared that one of his ways of addressing this, about being able to let things go, was to take an intentional, beautiful photograph of it. He went one step further and didn't just keep the photo digitally, he would develop the photos and put them in a photo album, almost treating it as a coffee table book. A physical photo album commemorating all of the things that he had decided to rid himself of, but that he still felt connected to. So when it comes to reason 1, we think it's cool and we just like it, this is a perfect solution. Things like that Simpsons Mr. Sparkle toy box thingy is a perfect candidate for this because, again, I don't need it. I rarely look at it. I don't really love and appreciate it. And so taking an intentional, beautifully framed photograph of it, whether I decide to develop the photo or not, will allow me to keep the memory of it and maintain that connection with it in an archive forever. Now moving on to reason 2, which is the category of things that are useful once in a while, but we rarely use them. This one is a little bit tougher for me because by definition, if it's something that is useful to us, it by some measures makes sense to keep. And so I've come up with a two-stage decision-making process for that. And so stage number one is to ask myself, is this item easily borrowed or is there a very easy substitute for it? So going right back to this right over here, I don't know many people with this, so when it comes to whether or not it's easily borrowed, I'm not quite sure. But is there an easy substitute? Yeah. I could have literally just printed that on a piece of paper and shoved it in a photo frame at my sister's wedding. There was no need to spend the $20 on that. And the second stage, the second question is there typically ample time warning for needing this item? So similarly to that letterbox thingy, I can't think of any reason why it would ever be an emergency that I would need to have it. I would know about a wedding way in advance and be able to prepare some kind of solution, borrow one, whatever the case might be. But when it comes to that tape measure, even though I don't use a tape measure more than, 10 times a year. It makes sense to keep it because when I look back and think of the times that I had to measure something, there was almost no warning. And so finding a neighbor to borrow a tape measure from in the last moment when I really need to measure something doesn't seem to make sense. It makes more sense to me to keep this tape measure in my home. That third reason, the sentimental things and the souvenirs, this one can be extremely tough. That example with the memory box of my dad's stuff. But looking inside of the box, I realized that at least half of those things I would be just as happy, emotionally connected, if, like reason one, I had a photograph of it, an intentional and beautiful photograph. Reason number 4 of why it's difficult to let things go is because we perceive them as an investment. Now, this category is different and is case by case for everyone, but for me personally, I was a sneakerhead for the better part of 20 years. And going back to the first video of this series, one of the core reasons why I'm interested in minimalism is to remove complexity in decision making. But as far as an investment goes, yes, I was able to resell sneakers for 3, 4, 5, even 10 times of what their purchase price was. But the amount of time I spent lining up overnight for sneakers, scouring forums, navigating eBay, trying to sell them to different people who would end up flaking, all of this pales in comparison to the value generated from selling it. And most of all, there was so much complexity and so much decision making for all of this. And so I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Investments are investments. And whatever you're passionate and knowledgeable about, you know best. But for me personally, when it comes to buying physical things as investments, I'm done with all of that. If I do want to invest, and spoiler alert, I do, a future series of videos in this channel is going to be learning about the stock market and how to start investing in it. As for the remaining pairs of sneakers that I haven't worn yet and I initially bought for that purpose, I'm going to sell those as fast as I can. And the last reason number 5, which is it'd just be a waste to throw it away type of items. I just need to recognize that one person's trash is another person's treasure. And so the difference here is instead of just shoving them into drawers and cupboards never to be seen again, I'm going to take them out, organize them, and make a concerted effort to sell them, whether it's on Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, eBay, whatever. But the point is to try and sell them first. If I can't sell them, to donate or give them away, and as a very last resort, to throw them away. Now, before diving into section 3, I just want to remind everyone that I'm halfway through my 30-day challenge right here on Instagram, where every day as I'm getting ready for bed, I have to post a quick walk-around video of my room to validate that I'm still keeping it tidy every single day. It's a financial loss incentive, and so if you're interested in helping me stay accountable, be sure to hit up that Instagram. And now, let's move to the last section, section 3 of this video, which is my official plan to minimize. There are 2 core components. Component 1 is to photograph everything that I want to take a photograph of. And component 2 is to gather, organize, and list everything that's sellable and try and sell it as quickly as possible. Tactically though, the process is going to look something like this. I'm going to be going through each of the 5 categories of things, and that's clothing and accessory related, media related, paper related, work/hobby related items, and miscellaneous items, and identifying everything that I want to minimize down. From there, I'm going to take individual photos of everything that I feel any anxiety whatsoever of letting go of. And then, if you remember from the video, which I'll link right up here, where I kind of revealed my bedroom, I'm going to consolidate all of my clothing from these 2 closets into just this 1 closet, opening up this closet to be a stock room of sorts, where I can store everything that I plan on trying to sell. From there, again, I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it. Might be Facebook Marketplace, might be Kijiji, might be eBay, might even set up my own website, e-commerce website. But the point is I'm going to list all of these things for sale somewhere and hopefully gradually reduce that stock closet back to empty. I mean, theoretically to me, it sounds simple enough, but I'm sure I'm going to run into challenges. I'm going to share those in future videos in this series. If you have a goal, whether it's minimalism, fat loss, or anything else that's self-improvement related, feel free to join the brand new private Facebook group called Get It Together. I put the link in the description below, and it's a place where we can help each other with our tips, lessons that we learn, and provide accountability and moral support. If you got value out of this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to debate anything, hit up the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.